everyone, the Queenager Wisdom Show with Ms. C and Mama C. Tonight, our topic is the power of tracking your thoughts. The way we think, our cognitions, and what we do, our behavior, affects the ways we feel. So it follows that if we want to change the way we feel and what we do, then we need to change some behaviors. So we have to think differently so that it is in sync with who we are and what we desire. The question you need to ask yourself and answer honestly is, are my thoughts working for me or against me? According to statistics, we all have thousands of thoughts per day. Some are helpful and uplifting. For example, that was so much fun. I really like being here. And some are more downbeat. For example, more importantly, some are accurate. I really got to do this follow. And when we understand what our purpose is and we are in alignment with that purpose, it not only makes life better for other people, it makes it better for ourselves, because a lot of times people are working against themselves, not with themselves, for themselves. And I think that when we can do that, we make the world a better place. Like Michael Jackson says, a better place for you and I.
Yes. For our children, for our great grandchildren, for generations.
Absolutely, absolutely. Some people want to leave money behind. Some people want to leave great wealth and things. But you know what? You can't take any of that with you when you go. So why not have the best life possible while we are here?
Yes.
And blessed with the ability to move, and even if it is difficult sometimes, because my sciatica has been kicking my butt this week. But you know what? I'm ready to deal with that. I finally found a doctor who is going to work a miracle for me and get rid of this sciatic challenge, because I've had it since I was 30, And let me tell you something. When you're not feeling well, a lot of negative thoughts rush through your mind. Yes. Why am I doing this? Why am I going through all of this? You start to, it's very difficult. I tell people it's very difficult to operate when you're constantly fighting pain. And you know what? Today, right this moment, I know we're supposed to be here because I'm not feeling the pain I've been feeling for the last week or so. So Thursday, I go under the knife or whatever he's going to use. He says a 15-minute process. And I'm like, okay, that works for me. And we'll see how I'm feeling afterwards, and get this situation taken care of. So I think it's important, when I think about the thoughts that I have on a day-to-day basis, they're a lot different from when I was a younger woman. How am I feeling? I have to ask myself, how am I feeling? How do I feel about this, or how I feel about that? And, what at this point in my life has value, and because not everything has value, from stage to stage to stage in our growth process, we tend to have different values or opportunities to be enriched, for our lives to be enriched. And I think that's what people need to understand. We want to live an enriched life. And it's very difficult to do that if the thoughts you are having are not in alignment with the quality of life that you want to produce.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is so, so true. I just even, I try to think. I think logically, but I was going through pretty much the same thing you were going through the last 3 weeks. And I had to watch my language, because even though on this plane I was feeling the pain,
right?
But when I would describe something, I wouldn't say, "Oh boy, I'm feeling really bad, or my back is bad." I would just say, "My back is not too good right now," because I'm going. No,
it's acting up right now.
Right, you know what I'm saying? So this way, I can go towards that good. I don't want to stay in that place. And, and that language does make a difference. I'm finding that it really makes a difference. The more I stay positive and the more and I know it sounds very cliche-ish, but the more I sound positive, the more that I'm in gratitude and thankfulness, no matter where I am. Thank God that there's doctors. Thank God that I can take a over the counter something, thank God that
Right.
I can, get out of myself and be able to feel. I'm in the land of the living. I'm feeling, and
Yeah.
yeah, so
And
it is a lot to be grateful. And I find if I change my thoughts, I can change my words, then I can
right,
change my action,
right.
and then I can change my mind and change
Absolutely.
my life. And then when I get there, I'm like, yeah, I do feel good. Yeah, how about that? Whatever it
Yeah.
takes, if it takes a little procedure or if it takes a big procedure, whatever it takes to,
Whatever it takes,
yeah,
and that's so important. People don't realize that you've got to take the high road when
yeah,
it comes to your thoughts,
yeah,
rather than wallow in the muck and mire of an experience that may not be so positive at the particular moment. Even when I'm in a lot of pain, I take that time to pamper myself, to
yes,
just be good to myself, because being a woman who is a type A personality, I tend to be on the go a lot, whether it's in my home or out. I tend to think a lot differently than did when we were younger. That's because we're in a different phase of life, and every phase has its gifts. And so I'm I'm someone who wants my golden years to be golden. And when I met with the doctor who's going to do the procedure, I said, look, doc, I said, when I think about the golden years, this sciatica is not in tune with my golden years. I'm not liking it, and it's not liking me. And so one of us got to go, and it's not going to be me. So it's the sciatica. So
mhm,
he explained the process of what he would do to alleviate the challenge. I don't like the word problem. It's a challenge. I think everything in life is a challenge, and we have to see it as that.
mhm,
And so that's one of the thought processes that I changed quite some time ago. I don't have any problems. I have challenges, which mean I have to face the challenge and figure out how to rise victorious over it. And yes, I agree with what you were saying, that thankfulness and gratitude play a big role in how we
it is,
feel,
right,
what we think,
yes,
how we interact with other people. And so, we really have to take some time to start tracking our thoughts and asking ourselves, is this thought enriching my life, or is it subtracting from my life? One of the things I always tell people, you can come into my life, but you cannot subtract from my life. You can
right,
add to or support my happiness, but you cannot take from it.
right,
So I think we have to set goals for ourselves, and then we have to think about what we have to do that's in sync with the goal we've chosen for ourselves, because sometimes we think these spontaneous thoughts and then we automatically respond to them. If I have, and I've learned the difference between a positive thought and a negative thought. And so when I have a negative thought, I stop myself. I'm like, okay, why am I feeling this way? Is my body or my mind or something in my presence trying to tell me something? I take the time to assess my thoughts, because I find that when I do thought assessment, I come out a lot better. My goals are generally met in a very positive way, because I'm not responding just spontaneously to every thought that I have. I want to know whether or not that thought is it really embracing something that's going to enrich my life? That's the bottom line.
mhm,
There are key things that we need to know about our thoughts, and they are: we all have quick and automatic thoughts that just pop into our minds.
yes,
These automatic thoughts are often based on assumptions, not facts. Automatic thoughts are very believable, but they can be inaccurate. You know what I'm saying? So it's important to know whether or not the thoughts we have are of God or not of God.
Yes.
That's the way I put it. You know, I'm like, is this a good thought? Is this God guiding me in some way? Or is this just a negative thought that wants to just get into the program and mess up the whole kit and caboodle, whatever it is that I'm going through or dealing with at the time, you know? So
right.
thought records are an important, go ahead.
Before you go to the next one, I just want to say something about that one, the one that just comes in there, that one that just kind of sneaks in there and could be negative.
Right, right.
Is that I think maybe this would be a good time to interject that that's the time to rein it in. We have to rein our thoughts, and we have to take control and command over our thoughts. Even the scriptures tell us, you know, take it into captivity. Take that thought into captivity. This does not belong to me. This is not what God's will for me. Maybe for somebody else, maybe if you want to receive that or accept it, because, you know, as a man thinketh. And so when you said that, it just brought to my mind that we have to take responsibility for our thoughts, you know, rein it in, change it at the time. You know what? No, that's not me. That's not working. I shouldn't be thinking that either about myself or someone else. That's negative, because being that we're all connected, when I judge you and I think badly and anything that is not pure and lovely and kind and all of those things, it comes back to me, you know.
Absolutely.
It's going to circle back to me, right? Like karma. And so I have to be accountable for all my thoughts. Right. And that's a job. And I think that's why we come to a place in our golden years, as we go toward our golden years, we come to a place that is more about the outside as well as the inside, you know.
Right.
For everything now. Before, I got away with being selfish, and I got away with being a little bit self-centered, like maybe in the 20s or whatever, you know. As we progress, it becomes so inclusive and all encompassing that the thoughts are really, really important.
Oh, absolutely.
To rein in, take control of, and take accountability of.
I agree with you. You know, it's amazing how our thought process changes from phase to phase to phase of our lives. You know, like when I was a young girl and I was struggling to survive because I had come from a home, I was part of a home that was not very functional and rather dysfunctional. And you know, just then my thoughts were of survival. I just had to survive this. You know, I had to survive and get through this. And then at age 19, I realized, well, now I'm older, you know, so I get to be the captain of my ship. So that means I may have to make choices for myself that are healthy. But at 19, I wasn't thinking the way I am now. I didn't assess it the way I was able to assess it just this moment and now going forward. And then when I had my daughter at 22, you know, my thought process was very different from what it is now. And then I moved on into my 30s and 40s and 50s, and now in my 60s, heading close to 70, you know, I see how the difference in my thought process has made a big difference in the quality of my life, the woman I've become, how I feel about myself, responsibility, you know, my taking responsibility for now, as well as understanding some of the things I could have done differently when I was younger. But you know what? Every step we take, is part of our growth process. And, you know, I'm just glad as a woman that I didn't take the low road. I didn't say, well, this has happened to me because I'm no good, or this is happening to me because that is supposed to happen to me. Now, at this particular point, I realize how much changing I have done, but that changing has happened as a result of my thought process. You know, what do I need to do differently now that I did than what I did in my 20s or my teens? What is it that I need to do now? What will enrich my life now? And, you know, sometimes I think to myself, wow, I said, if I had the wisdom I have now in my teens, 20s, 30s, and 40s, I wonder what my life would look like. But you know what? It is what it's supposed to be now, based on my thoughts and how I embraced those thoughts or put them to the side because they were not in sync with who I am as a woman and what I want for myself and my family and just for other people in general.
Right. Yeah. I attribute a lot of my thoughts also to the wisdom in the scriptures, the wisdom in the Bible, God's word. And one of the things that I just had to jot down so I would remember, you know, because I'm at the age too, got to remember. I got to remember everything. I don't know how I made it this far. Thank you, with the grace of God. Okay.
Yeah, you know,
right. So Proverbs 23:7 says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. You know, so I try to think good things in my heart, you know, because I know when it's off, you know, whether it's about me or somebody else. Mostly it's about me. It could be so hard on ourselves, you know, judging ourselves and critical of ourselves. And I have to find that balance, when to be judgmental, when to be hard on me, and when to be lighter on me, when to treat myself like the good friend, like I would treat you. Or like I would treat my good friend or my sister. I wouldn't be hard or mean. So I don't want to be mean to myself. So the thoughts that I think have to be in line, I think you had mentioned earlier, in line and aligned with who I am, you know, not against me either. So I find for me, you know, having certain spiritual practices, like I take quiet time, you know, I take like 30 minutes of quiet time, 20 minutes, 15 minutes when I need some extra or whatever, just take it. Because I need it just to feed somebody else, not just to feed good thoughts to somebody else, not just for me. You know, so I do that. And then, you know, through prayer time and through affirmations, you know, I can't say that enough, because sometimes I can do more. I can do an affirmation, put it on the mirror, and I can imagine just how much influence it would have on my life to remind me who I am, you know, how special and how unique I am. Because, you know, we say, I might as well be me because everybody else is taken. So everybody else, I can't jump in your body. Oh, I love Deborah's life. Let me jump in her life. No, I can't.
It don't work that way.
It doesn't work that way. So I have to be in line with me, mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. One of my affirmations is, I am healthy, happy, and peaceful mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. I am wealthy, rich, prosperous, and secure financially. I am cool, calm, collected, confident, charming, classy, chic, elegant, eloquent, loquacious, articulate, well-read, well-written, well-versed, well-informed, well as in I give love and I receive love. I make friends and I am a friend.
Girl, I would have had to read that. You good, okay? I would have had to read that, because as I age, I found myself, what was that affirmation of? What was that? And yeah, you know, my memory is, you know, it's a good thing that I decided I was gonna laugh my way through the golden years, because there are times when I'm like, oh my God, years ago I would have remembered that. Or I would have spit that and without even a thought, you know, I mean, it would have just come right off the tip of my tongue, you know, like a fireball or something.
The discarding
but
time.
Yeah,
it's discarding. It's a lot of stuff up there that we don't even need, you know. So if it's a little short with a name, that's why he says when there are 2 or 3 in the midst, we'll get that name together. You may get the person, I'll get the last name, or you'll get the place and I'll get the street. But, you know, it's going to come together. Whatever we need is already provided for, you know. So every now and then we're going to miss the name, or what was I saying? Like, you're right. Any other time, that's the easiest thing. And it makes me so upset that I want it then.
Absolutely.
You know, and most of the time I'm gifted with getting it then. But sometimes, you know, I just have to say, you know what, just let it go. Because sometimes when you let it go, it'll come right back.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely. You know, I mean, as you were talking, I had a thought that has already left my head. So that's okay. I'm going to come back to another thought. Let's go on to another thought next, you know. But I think that, you know, our ability to embrace who we are. There are a lot of women, once they hit that 50 number, they go downhill. They don't really see their value. But I've learned that every phase in our human development has value. but we've got to be willing to seek that value, embrace that value, and use that value to enrich our lives right now. You know, I do what I do now because I can. I mean, there are things that I no longer can do and maybe shouldn't even do. And I'm okay with that. I think what we tell ourselves, what we feed our minds and our souls is so important to the reality of our lives. You know, people come to all kind of conclusions about themselves based on external factors. But you know what? It's my internal that gets fed and nourished, and my soul is in sync with who I am, not who somebody wants me to be, or thinks I should be. I am just living in harmony with God, with life, with the universe, with all things. And I don't like spiders that much. I'll admit that, you know. But I realize they have, as long as they stay on the other side of the world and I stay on mine, I'm good, you know.
When you were talking, I thought about when you said a lot of people when they get to their 50s. I think that was, say, from the generation of maybe 60, maybe not even 60, maybe 70, maybe not even 70, maybe 80. I don't know, where many years ago, long time ago, I'll date myself, women used to say, oh, I'm 40, and they think they're going down the hill. They, you know, because we're going to age, you know, the beauty, the more the inner beauty is going to come out as we get older. Thank God for that. Thank God for that, right? Because, I mean, you can't be 40, 50, or maybe you can, but at some point, you're not going to look like the 2030, you know, maybe you will and maybe you won't, but I'm just saying on a whole. And
more times than not, you won't.
Right, but then it doesn't even matter at that point. But what the point I'm trying to get to is that I find now, as I look at the generation, at my daughter's generation, which is like a 20-year gap from our generation,
right.
generation, and I speak for myself and out of my own experience, I find that they are really, and not over the top with it. They are just taking care of themselves because they were giving good examples from us. You know, like, take care of yourself, eat the best you can now. What you do at 20 is going to show up at 40. What you do at 40 is going to show up at 60, you know? So
exactly.
Eat the best way you can, drink plenty of fluids, you know, get your rest, get a little exercise or whatever, you know, be kind. These things that all add up to a good life. And I see, maybe because it's people in the industry and part of their life is taking care of themselves, you know. That's you are presenting, you are the package, you are the brand. And then you feel so good when you take care of yourself. So I have to give kudos to them. I mean, when you look at J-Lo and Light and Jada and all, and Tony, and all of them on Instagram, you know, they're vibrating at a nice, healthy acceptance of, this is 50 and this looks good. Like they
absolutely.
say,
absolutely.
Whatever,
but
right?
You know what? I think they are the exception to the rule. A lot of people in the entertainment industry, I think, because they have been nurtured on that. You got to keep yourself looking good. You got to keep yourself feeling good. I think that a lot of women, let's say the average woman, you know, who hasn't learned to value herself, and not just in the 20s and the 30s, but the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond. Like you said, you know, we have, or shall I say, we go through stages of development. And now that we're in our what they call the golden years, it's up. The golden years don't just happen.
Right.
It's up to us to eat right, to think right, to do right. And I think that that's true for every phase. But I think the first time I started thinking about life coming in phases, I'm like, wow, okay, I'm in this phase called the golden years. So what does that mean? I mean, I've never been in the golden years before. There's no manual for me to read about what you should or should not do. I think a lot of it a lot of what we need to do is more important than what we should do. And I think that's an issue for a lot of women, that they're busy doing what they want to do as opposed to what they need to do. And so their thought process is on the want, rather than need what they need. And so I think when we get to this golden era or phase in our lives, we've been through enough to recognize that we've got to do something different. We have to change our behaviors if we haven't, if they're not conducive to this phase of our lives. Some of the things we did when we were younger women, I wouldn't do now as a woman who's in her 60s. I think that we just really have to look at every phase. Where are you in your phase or your evolution of life? Where are you? And is what you're doing now apropos to where you are now, not to where you used to be or would want to be? Because a lot of people, a lot of women, a lot of people live in the past. I want to be that again, but you're not that again.
Right.
So who am I right now? And what enriches my life at this phase of my life? We have to start thinking about how our thoughts are working for us or not. Are they working for us? If they're not, then we have to think different thoughts. It's almost like reprogramming a computer. We have to reprogram our minds so that they are working for us at this phase of our lives, as opposed to get against us. And I know women who are in their 60s and 70s who are acting like they're in their 20s and 30s, or they wish they could be in their 20s and 30s again. But you know what? Rather than sitting and reminiscing over what was, how about asking yourself, what is now?
Right.
What is for me now at this phase of my life? And that's so important that we look at every phase in our human development and ask ourselves, what works for me now? Not what worked for me 10 years ago. What's working for me now? And it is a process of assessment. We have to assess our lives. And like I said, all of my books were written based on my doing self-assessing and in prayer time with God. And, I could look back and I could see where I was then and how much I've grown to this point right now. And that's it's
a process.
It is a process. Life is a process. It doesn't just come and go. It comes, but what we do with it is the key.
Exactly. And being able to, through that assessment, is to be an acceptance of what we can't change, and be tolerant of what we can't change, and to surrender to what we can change.
Absolutely.
Right. And to be in that place of being able to let go and to know that we are constantly evolving, constantly growing, constantly shifting, constantly changing, and to be in acceptance of that, you can work as hard as you want, but it's not to say you're going to have the same body you had when you were 20.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. You may get some semblance to it, and you may get it. Who knows? And, the idea is to go for it. I wrote this quote down. I love quotes. This particular one, it says, "Good thoughts and actions can never produce bad results. Bad thoughts and actions can never produce good results." And that's James Allen, As a Man Thinketh, of course. And so, yeah, absolutely. So it's always, for me, I want to have the best and clean and purest thoughts that I can. Now, life happens, things happen. You cross me up on that highway or the freeway or something, like, you asshole. Sorry.
Exactly. Oh, girl, let me tell you. I have to stop myself sometimes too.
I may not say it to the person, but it jumps up in my head. But you know what? Okay, at least I didn't confront them and I didn't have road rage or whatever. But that's just an example. So just like that can slip in there, you never know what other thoughts can slip in there. And that's why I take the time before I go to bed to channel my thoughts also in a positive way, that like
Right.
staying in gratitude, opening that door for good positive thoughts before I go to bed. I don't watch war pictures or horror pictures, and I don't watch them anyway, and I'm definitely not going to watch them before I go to sleep. I'd be like, no, devil, you ain't come through my TV tonight. Not with all of that. No, 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 because see, I'll go to bed because I'm very sensitive to that stuff, and I'll be dreaming and thinking and seeing and visualizing. I have better things to think about, and
Yeah.
to get attached to good thoughts and not bad or demonic or thoughts that are not going to be beneficial for me.
Right. Mean-spirited thoughts.
Mean spirited.
Yeah, exactly. Today my granddaughter asked me, because I've been doing some binge watching on shows on Netflix. And when I go to look for something new, my granddaughter Tiara said, "Grandma, how come you won't watch The Maid?" It's a series or a movie or something. I don't know what it is exactly, but I've heard that in it was a lot of domestic violence or emotional abuse. And I said to her, I don't like movies like that. I don't like when people are being mistreated or put in a harmful situation. I don't find that entertaining. So and then on the other hand, my daughter always says, the only thing you watch is the kill shows." And I'm like, I like Law and Order, and I like some of the crime shows, especially if they're true crime, because I learn from it, and it helps me to stay in tune with the fact that everybody's not like me. There are some mean-spirited people out there who would kill you just for the fun of it.
Right.
So I like to stay in alignment with the realities of life and not do what I did when I was a younger woman. I used to think that everybody was wonderful and everybody's kind. You be good to people, they're going to be good to you. And that's not true. There are a lot of mean-spirited people out here, a lot of narcissistic people, a lot of sociopathic people, a lot of just totally psychotic people. And so you have to be, in alignment with the realities of the planet we're on. Everything isn't hunky-dory, and you got to pay attention to your senses when you're out and about, because there are people who wouldn't think twice of walking up on you and blowing your brains out. Why? For no good reason other than they wanted to know what it feels like. Are you kidding me? So I think that it's so important to really just pay attention to what you're thinking and also what you're feeling. Our intuitive senses are powerful, and we have them for a reason. If things are not going well in the space around you and you step into that space and your thoughts, your spirit is saying, get out, move on, don't do that, don't take that elevator up with that person, don't drive that way, whatever. I listen to my spirit. I may not know why, but you know what? Do I really need to know why? Do I need to go against what my spirit is telling me? And only to find out that if I had gone the other way like I should have, I wouldn't be sitting in traffic for 2 hours. Or I wouldn't have come up on an accident where people were actually killed or whatever. So, I mean, it's important. And if for people who don't know how to track their thoughts, get a journal. A lot of people journal. I journal. A lot of people journal. I write down the things, especially I've got pretty good at knowing the difference between a positive thought and a negative thought. And sometimes the negative thoughts can be positive too, because you might have a thought that says, "Oh, don't go over to that person because something's wrong, or whatever. That person is not a good person, or whatever." Well, that thought could be watching out for my well-being, and that's what God does. God watches, he protects. He's our protector, our provider. And if we're getting a message to do something different from what we're doing, then if we just do whatever we want to do, oh, the brain says, oh, go that way, or do whatever you want to do. You know, you have free will. I tell people, you know, when I began the journey to growing closer to God some years ago, one of the things I did, I said to God, I choose to turn my free will, or what is called my free will, over to you and live through your will for my life. Now that was a positive thought.
Right.
Now, some people may not understand that thought because they may not be on the same spiritual vibe as I am. And I say spiritual, I don't do religion, because there's if you really want to see people at their worst, go into a church sometimes, you know. it can get really good. Just sit there and watch, you know, and not just the church. You can go and sit on a park bench and watch people, you know. They will tell you who they are.
Right.
You will get the vibes. You'll understand who is positive, who's negative, whose space you'd like to be a part of, and whose space you don't want to be a part of. Not listening to our thoughts is one of the worst things I think that human beings do, because everybody want to do what they want to do, not what they need to do. I want to do what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this because I want to do it. Well, okay. Well, for some of you, how's that working out? You know, how's that working out for you? So, you know, when I started journaling and taking a look at my thoughts and assessing them, wow, it changed my life. It helped me to understand the difference between a positive thought and a negative thought.
Right.
It teaches me to listen to my body. I've learned to listen to my body when my body is speaking to me.
That's
so
right.
Listening to our thoughts is essential, because there's so many messages that we may need for our well-being that we're totally ignoring.
Exactly.
You know, so, you know, I think that this is probably one of the most important things that we need to pay attention to as human beings, because when we're in our natural state, and our natural state is energy, pure energy.
That's right.
We don't have to worry about a lot of this stuff that we, in our human state of being, have to deal with. I always say, if you deal with it, you don't have to worry about it. Right. You know, the problem with a lot of people is that they spend more time worrying and getting on that negative train of thought than assessing that thought they just had. That may not even be a thought that was for me. Maybe I picked it up from somewhere, I don't know.
That's
you
right.
know?
Right.
So, you know, the situation, you know, you might want to ask yourself, what was I doing when I had this thought that's bothering me?
Yes.
You know, what was I doing? What in my space was affecting me that to the degree that I had that kind of a thought?
Right.
I mean, it doesn't take much to just sit down with a pad and a pen. You know what? Whenever I see a cute little pad, I got more pads than
with you.
I can count.
Writers, you know, we have a lot of pads and
a lot of pads, you know, because I carry pads with me. I have pads on the couch, pads next to my bed, because I'll wake up in the middle of the night with thoughts just running through my head. And they might just be doing that, running through my head. But if I jot them down,
right?
Yeah, if I jot them down, and I used to say to people, you know, when I was in high school, I learned how to do grade shorthand. So sometimes those thoughts would be moving so fast, I couldn't even write them out the way irregular. I had to take shorthand and then decipher them later.
That's right. Then I forgot Greg, so I had to start doing ABC Steno, which is even easier, ABC Steno. And so, you know, as you were talking, I thought about the thoughts and the vibes. It's times that thoughts have come to me that would have not had me to present myself in the light that God wanted me to present or to be in, which is his light, pure light, right? Even when I would go to church, I used to go to church. One of the churches was Metropolitan Baptist Church. That's where I got my first license, right? And but on a Sunday, when I would get off the train on 125th Street, by the time I walked over from the east side or took the bus over and walked up Adam Clayton. By the time I did that, 100 thoughts would go through. Oh Lord, do I have to go in there? Do I have to speak to these? Because some of these people could be mean-spirited, it's true, you know, and some of them, they would smile and they didn't want to smile, or they didn't want to talk, or they halfway wanted to talk, or they turned like they didn't see you, all kinds of stuff, right? And I would say, oh Lord, I just want to go in here and worship you and praise you and go in. I don't feel like all that smiling and all that. I don't feel like doing that. I just want to go to my seat and praise you. And just before on my way there, I started praying, Lord, you got to change my attitude because you got to change these thoughts, because the thoughts lead to the attitude, right? Lead to the action. I'm like, Lord, you please change me. Please have me go in there the way you'd have me. Let me surrender my will to you, not my will, thy will be done. Let me go in there the way you'd have me to go in. And it would just change it. Like it was a whole reinvention. I go in and and I felt it. It wasn't a fake, you know, and I was getting that response. And if I didn't, it was like a boom, like a ricochet. If it wasn't supposed to be meant for me and I didn't see it, it was fine. I just kept it moving. And this way, because even in the scriptures, he said, settle your ought with your brother before you bring anything to me. So my praise and my worship and all this sweet aroma that he wants from us, you know, how was I going to give that? And I'm thinking, I don't even want to talk to them. That's stinky, you know, so that's the stinking thinking.
Stinking thinking, yeah.
But he would fix me every Sunday because I had to go to that place. If you want to drink, you have to go to the fountain, right?
Right.
There's no other way. And so maybe there's, but for me, I would go to that fountain on Sundays. When I got off that train, I would start praying because I knew I had to, because it was no way that I could go in like that.
Right,
you know, with any kind of ill feelings or those thoughts that were not the right thought, the clean, positive, pure thought, out of self. Don't worry about it, because we should be able to love unconditionally. So those thoughts that prevent that are the thoughts that need to be put under arrest. You know, like, let me look at this. I don't want to carry this with me. This is unnecessary baggage.
You know what I love? I love loving people from a distance. Unconditionally from a distance, okay? And what people don't seem to understand is that unconditional love doesn't require that we allow ourselves to be used and abused by people. I think that people just got the wrong idea about unconditional love. And let me tell you, when God taught me how to love unconditionally, I love it, because we're not here to be other people's whipping stones and to beat up on us. And he created a world that he wanted us to thoroughly enjoy, feel the beauty of, and feel like human life had some real value. Sometimes we have to think real hard about human life and its value, because sometimes it's hard to find it in the world outside of ourselves, you know? So, you know, I'm feeling you. And
unconditional means let God do that.
Let God handle it. Yeah, you know,
so being able to turn it over and to turn the situation or to turn those kind of people over to
absolutely,
him.
absolutely.
You know, it's just not within my power. I can't change anything, you know, but I can change myself. So I think they're put there, they're on my path so that I can grow, that I can change.
Absolutely.
God can change me, you know.
Absolutely, absolutely.
My heart to the situation, you know.
And I think that's such a good thing about the relationship we have with God. Yes. You know, I tell people that, you know, I have an intimate relationship with God. Intimate. And don't get it twisted. Intimate don't mean sexual.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Sexual is sexual. Intimate is intimate. I pray and I meditate every morning, every night. If I go to sleep, I spend time with God, just talking to God and allowing God to speak back to me. Yes. In the morning, I do the same thing. Why? Because it makes me feel good. It makes me feel alive. It makes me appreciate life, even when I have to use my crutches to get around. Yeah. Even when I'm in so much pain. I think a pain hit me in the middle of last night that almost made me cry out loud. And I did cry out a little bit, but you know, let me tell you, if we can't have that kind of intimate relationship with God, so that we're able to change our minds, or let God change our minds about the things that we are we come in contact with, then it's very hard to do it on your own, because as a human being, sometimes you want to just smack the unholy crap out of some people, you know, but it's God that I have to keep reminding myself, turn it over to God. I have a girlfriend who's Dory. Dory says, I see what she said, I've been a witness to what God does to people who mistreat you. She said, so if I ever do you wrong, anything wrong, I want you to talk to me about it. Because I don't want God to handle it. I want, can we handle it one-on-one? Yeah, exactly, you know? So, you know, we really need to pay attention to our thoughts, and are those thoughts healthy? Are they, you know, conducive to our well-being and the well-being of the people around us, or the well-being of the world in general? You know, I tell people I can't change anything. The only thing I can change is me. Right. But that change comes as a result of my relationship with God. That's right. And right. I think being submissive to the will of God is a very powerful thing, because you can hear the voice of God. And you know, I've often, even though my mother was mentally ill, I really think that she really had an intimate relationship with God. She could hear God. But back in those days, if you heard God talking to you, or you heard some voices or whatever, you was crazy. Yeah. But I think we've reached a point of enlightenment, or a period of enlightenment, where we understand the difference between the voices we hear. You know, what is that voice just told you to do? Is it healthy? Is it conducive to your well-being and the enrichment of your life, or not? You know, it doesn't take much to stop yourself. And we are responsible for what we do. But what we do is based on what we're thinking. And if that thinking is stinking thinking, you're going to do some bad things, and the consequences are not going to be good. Everybody wants a wonderful life. But if you're not doing things that are in tune with a happiness, I always tell people I live peacefully, and living peacefully has given me joy in my soul, which provides the happiness I need to move day to day, no matter what's going on in my life. And you know, it's so important. I hope those who are watching tonight, and we only have a few more minutes, the director says, so I hope people are understanding that they need to stop. Don't just move on a thought because you think you should. No, if you're not feeling that is a good move, stop it, write it down, and then take the time to figure out whether or not you are going to do what you just heard in your head, or whether or not you're going to let it pass on by because it's not conducive to the quality of life you want to live, God wants us to live, and that you possibly can live if your thoughts are not working against you. Right.
And also, to back to one more thing, the captivity. Taking captivity of those thoughts also includes and guarding your thoughts where they shouldn't be, in places where they have no business being. You know, in the occult, or in the demonic stuff, or in the witchcraft, or whatever it is. Right. You have to guide your thoughts, because once you open that door, those thoughts may no longer be your thoughts. And then if we're going to end, I read something that I'd like to share. If it's okay.
Absolutely.
Okay, this is, it says, our thoughts are passed on science, and the science of epigenetics has shown that our dispositions, bad habits, anxiety, and even hatred of cats can impact our kids even before they are conceived. Example, poverty spirit, a poverty mentality can be passed on from generation to generation just by thoughts, negative thoughts. Thoughts can be a curse. And we're told in 2 Corinthians 10:5, take every thought captive. Prayer and meditation lines up with good, positive thoughts.
Absolutely. Look, I can testify. Let me tell you, I can testify, you know. So I think that when we learn different things about what it means to be human, that all the things that go on in our lives as we journey through this time of humanness has to be done in such a way that it's conducive to our well-being, not working against us. So to all of you who are watching this evening, we encourage you, take some time to assess your thoughts. Figure out whether or not, ask yourself, is this a healthy thought or an unhealthy thought?
Yes.
Positive thought or negative thought?
Yes.
Don't just allow it to take over your life and draw you down dark paths.
Right.
Because let me tell you, those dark paths are hard to get out of.
Exactly.
It's almost like one dark path leads to another, and another dark path leads to another. It gets totally out of hand. So if we can stay in the light of God's love and be loving ourselves, you'll find that your thoughts will become more loving as well.
Exactly.
And I can testify to that. And you'll know where you're supposed to be. You'll know, shall I say, you'll understand the who, what, when, where, why, and how to's of your life, and how important it is to get in sync, in alignment with God's will for our lives, and love everything and everyone. And sometimes we have to do that from a distance. The ones I have to love from a distance, I turn them over to God. It's not my job to change them. I'm not here to save them.
Right.
That's God's job. You got to stay in alignment with what your role is on earth. And anytime you say something negative and nasty to somebody, don't think that it ain't coming back on you. It will. It will boomerang and backfire on you. And then you'll wonder, why did this happen to me? Because you thought it for somebody else. Right. So on that note, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us this evening. I hope our dialogue has been,
so.
Yeah, I hope it has.
I can't take another thing, take the I can't out. And I
right,
can.
I can.
I
and
can.
On that note, we're going to say good night to you all and join us. Be sure to join us next month.
Yep.
Same time, same place.
Here's our heart.
Bye, everyone.
Talk to you later, Deborah.
All right. We'll talk later.